What is up, y'all? We are back into the shop. Super good episode for you. This one sits near and dear to my heart, and we're talking vertical jigging. Rods, reels, and rigging. As we get closer to fall here, and obviously as we get closer to spring, vertical jigging is the number one way to catch walleyes out here on the river, and it is by far my favorite. Before we start getting into this episode, I am going to mention that everybody's preferences are different. And to me, guys, the number one advice I could give you is confidence is key. So if you've got something you're confident in and you like what you like, then stick with it. But if you're looking to try something new or get into something a little different, then please tune in. We've got a lot coming up for you that I think is going to be really good. And we're going to start with the rod. So typically, guys, the rod that you're going to want on average is a medium fast. So out here in the river, whether you're jigging St. Clair River, Detroit River, you're going to be jigging anywhere from a 1 ounce to a 5/8 ounce. Now I know some people like to use heavier weights. Personally, I don't like to go any heavier than 1 ounce. I find it really hard to find a rod that's got the right action to properly handle anything over 1 ounce, but also handle the fish bend and digging and bobbing like that. So I really like to use a 1 ounce. Personally, on all of my guide trips, on our guide boats, we don't go heavier than 3/4 most of the time, unless we've got like a heavy current. But I really like to stick to like 3/4 or 5/8. And for that, for me, a medium fast action is the best rod. Now, I like using a rod that's a 6'2". This one here is a Mags custom rod. This is what we have on our boat. They're made in Michigan. Super nice rods. But as you can tell behind me here, we've got plenty of options. So stay tuned. This one here is a 6'2" medium fast. Now the reason I like a 6'2" instead of some of the shorter rods that guys like to use is because I like to have a little bit more rod, especially for when it comes to loading up on fish. I like to have a really nice bend on that fish because most of the time, all the time when you're fishing vertical, that fish is going to be straight under the boat. So it's super important to me to have a good rod that's got a really nice bend to a really firm backbone. And for me, a 6'2" is kind of that perfect length. That gives you a little bit of extra length to give you a little bit extra bend. So as that fish is kind of digging, especially when you're on bigger fish and it's digging, it's going to give you some more room. So that's why I really like a 6'2". Now, I know a lot of guys like shorter rods, especially if you're fishing by yourself, because if you're fishing by yourself and you're jigging and you've got a fish, it's a lot easier to net a fish. So a lot of times guys will like running a 5'6". This here is a Shimano. Still plenty of bend. You see how it's got that bend to it? That's what you want to see on these rods. See this way here? It's got a real nice bend here, and then as you get up towards the rod, it's got a lot of backbone. And this rod here in particular is the Compre. Super popular rod because this rod is a 5'6" medium heavy extra fast. Now I know a lot of you guys like extra fast. It gives you a lot quicker hook sets on your fish. So a medium heavy extra fast is the way to go. In the store here, we've got Shimano's, and we've also got some Daiwas that are 5'9". So for you guys that like a shorter rod, that's definitely, or if you're kind of tired of using a longer rod or you're having a hard time netting a fish by yourself, maybe check out some of those shorter rods. These rods are especially good with 1 ounce jigs and 3/4 ounce jigs because of that medium heavy extra fast. So you can check those out. And I know a lot of guys in here, for example, don't like necessarily using a medium heavy, which personally I like to use a lighter rod. So they'll go with like a medium light, but an extra fast. So it gives you a little bit more light at the tip, a little bit more sensitivity, I guess you would say, but still plenty of backbone. So you see how this rod's bending here? You get a lot more bend in the top quarter of this rod, but it's still a super solid backbone. So if you're one of those guys that's like jigging a lot of them lighter rods, whether it's, you know, that 3/4 down to like 5/8, then that might be your style. This one here is a 6'3". And guys, my sweet spot, I like to use a little bit longer rod, but anywhere from a 5'6" to a 6'3", I think is really where you want to be for these jigging rods. 6'6" is totally fine if you like even more rod. 5-footers work really well. The 5-footers seem to be more of like a meat rod. You don't quite get as much bend. I notice, like for me personally, I would lose a lot of fish, bigger fish, especially like on the head shakes down deep. So that's kind of the way I'd like to set my setup. Start with a medium fast action. And then kind of go from there. Another thing that I highly recommend, whether you're coming into my store or any of the other local shops on the St. Clair system, is put some of these rods in your hand. Feel how they bend. feel how they feel in your hand, and really check them out, because the price all the time doesn't necessarily indicate the quality of the rod. I get guys that come in here and they'll put a $60 rod in their hand and they like it more than, say, a $200 rod just because of the feel in their hand. Maybe it's the components that are different, maybe it's the handle that is different, but definitely make sure that you get that rod in your hand before you buy it, because you want to make sure that you buy once, cry once, right? You don't want to be buying a bunch of different rods and then going through that and figuring it out, selling them on Marketplace. So get out there, get a rod in your hand, and number one, I said it earlier in the video, I'm going to say it again at the end of the video, but use what's confident to you and use what feels best, not what people are telling you to use. Now that we've kind of got the rod situated and figured out, let's talk reels. Guys, don't overthink your reels. You could be a sicko like me and go all out on your setup and buy a nice Shimano Vanford and spend a bunch of money. But you got to understand that when you're vertical jigging these walleyes, a lot of the times, especially if you're meat fishing, you don't need anything crazy. You don't need something with a really good drag system. Now, obviously, I'm not saying go out and buy the cheapest reel you can find, but you can find a lot of reels that are in a very similar price range. Like we've got some Shimanos and Daiwas here that are in that $35 price range all the way up to about that $100 price range, and that's what I recommend for just about everybody, unless, again, you're someone that wants to go out there and really do it all the time or have that quality stuff. But this right here, for example, is a $35 reel from Okuma. It's got a really good drag system for what it is, and it holds plenty of line. Now, when you're picking a reel, guys, again, you're going to be vertical jigging all day. Get a light reel. I like to go, and that's where when you spend a little bit more money, you get into those nicer components in the reels and you find those lighter reels. But this one here is 1,000 size. I recommend anything that's like 1,000 or 2,500. Don't go any bigger than 2,500. When you're sitting there doing this all day, I know it doesn't feel like much right now, but it will take a toll on you after a while. Your elbow will get sore, your wrist will get sore, you start doing some stuff with your arm, and then your cadence is all thrown off. So there's not too much to talk about reels, but when we are talking reels, again, this is 1,000 or a 2,500 size, and these are really what I like. Now, this is specifically a spinning rod setup. If you wanted to go with a baitcaster setup, there's some really nice reels out there. If you're going with a baitcaster reel, I highly recommend checking out. There's only a few that make these, but I highly recommend a flip and switch. So that would be this thing right here. And the flip and switch is super nice because when you have the flip and switch on, you're going to let line out, stop. Let line out, stop. Most reels, when you flip this off, it becomes a traditional bait casting reel. You're going to let line out, and then you either got to reel it or flip it up to stop it. So if you are going to be vertical jigging and you're looking for a bait caster, check out these Flugers. Abu Garcia makes a really nice one. Luz makes a high quality one, and Quantum makes a nice one as well. The Flugers and Abu Garcias are a little bit more price friendly, but you'll definitely want to check these out because as you let line out, when you feel the bottom, you stop. You can make super slight adjustments. You can fish this thing with one hand all day. You can press that button. You can kind of reel up with your finger down here. So if you're going with a bait caster setup, that's the way to go. Personally, I'm a spinning guy, so it's a lot easier for me to sit here and talk about spinning setups. But whether you're doing a bait caster or a spinning rod, the rod length and action is not going to change. Obviously, your reel is going to change. Now, we're going to talk about what you want to put on your reel, and that's going to be a high-quality line. You want a good braided line. We sell a lot of the Cortland Master Braid here. Suffix 832 is good. J-Braid's good. Power Pro's good. Some of the lines fade worse than others. We've found really good luck with this Master Braid. I really like to use anywhere from like 8 to 10 pound. I know some guys like to go lighter, but when you're out in the river and you're running into, and especially in the spring and fall, sturgeon, steelhead, stuff like that, I like to have a little bit beefier of a line. So I go that 8 to 10 pound. Notice this is a high-vis yellow. Guys, you can see that yellow in low light conditions. So early in the morning, late in the evening, when the jigging is really at its best, the high-vis yellow really helps you be able to see your line, especially keeping it vertical. And what I like to do is set up this high-vis yellow on all my reels, because then when I'm up front jigging on the boat and I turn around behind me, I can see my partner's line, whether it's a client or a buddy of mine, tournament partners. You can see their line and try and keep everybody in the boat vertical. or try and figure out what the mistake is. So find yourself a good braided line, and then I just run it to like a 10 to 12 pound fluorocarbon leader. That's why I like running the high vis, is because I run a 6 to 8 foot fluorocarbon leader, so there's no way that the fish is going to be able to see this line heading down. Now, let's talk about rigging. When it comes to rigging your baits and getting your vertical jigging baits set up, a lot of the times it seems like such an easy concept, but it's oftentimes overlooked, and I don't want to say it's not done properly, but I feel like a lot of guys don't know exactly how they want to rig up their baits, especially when it comes to the secret sauce, the stinger hook. So we're going to go over how to rig your baits here real quick and get you guys set up for the ultimate success as we get closer to jigging here. So we've got right here, these are our jigs here that we take care of. This is a 3/4 ounce antifreeze jig. This is the most popular jig that we've got in the store. It's this bright, flashy green jig. Works really well. Walleyes love green. Greens and purples are probably my 2 favorite out here. Followed shortly behind with a black jig, something super neutral. And then obviously I've got a pack here of our Hook 1 jigging minnows. You can use any sort of split tail plastic or paddle tails. The options are kind of endless when it comes to that, but this guy right here is one that does damage for us, the green gizzard. So we're going to show you guys kind of how to set this up. So first off, what I always like to do is make sure that the bait is in good shape, make sure the tail looks good, make sure the jig's good, make sure your hook is good. You'd be surprised sometimes. Hooks are bent, hooks are broke, but no barbs on the hooks. So make sure everything's good to go. Now, when you go to rig it, what you're gonna do is you're gonna take the eyelet of this jig and line it up with the back of this plastic. You're gonna take the hook and you're gonna put it directly through the nose right here. So as you put the hook right through the nose, you're gonna slide this bait down. Now, as you slide this bait down, I know it's kind of hard to see here. As you slide this bait down, you'll notice that it's gonna start to curl. You see it start to curving right here? As it starts to curve, you're gonna let that hook come out the back of the bait. You're gonna take this bait and you're gonna push it up right over the hook keep, nice and flush, and boom, there's your setup. Super simple. The bait's laying flat. You don't want it being super curved. If you push it too far up before you poke the hook out, it's gonna be too far curved, and you don't want that, right? Like if you come way down the back of this bait and try and push it, it's gonna look kind of funny, so you don't want that. And if you don't do it enough, show you. So if you don't do it enough and you push it up the back of this, you're gonna notice it's kind of on an angle and you've got a lot of the hook showing. You don't want that either. So what you wanna do is push it up till it curves. Once the bait curves, it's gonna lay there flat, just like that. That right there is exactly what you want your bait to look like, because as it comes up and down in the water column, it looks super natural. The tail still has plenty of room to work, and there's not a ton of hook sticking out. Here's my favorite part. This guy. For those of you that don't know what this is a stinger hook. This is responsible for, I would say, 70% at least of our bites early in the spring when those fish are sluggish. We tie ours on a slip knot, which is super easy to use, easy to take on, easy to take off. So that's why we use this. There's a couple other different options out there. Some people use a soft bead up top. Other people use a plastic dipped, and then they just stick the hook through the plastic. I really like the slip knot for the reason that you can take it on and take it off super easy, and you're not wasting any baits. A lot of times, especially with the plastic ones, once you put the hook through there a couple times, it's shot. So all you're gonna do with this is, you see this little loop right here? You're gonna put your hook through this little loop right here. You're gonna slide that down even with the bait, and all you're gonna do is pull tight, and that's it. And now you've got a stinger hook. So if the fish goes to take the back end of this plastic off, notice my stinger hook is at the base of my tail. It's not hanging too low for my tail to get tangled up and wound up in. As those fish to come up and maybe just take the back of this, because you've got a couple inches here without a hook. So as the fish comes up and goes to take a sluggish bite off the back, he'll get this stinger hook. Or I like to use a smaller, thinner hook, because a lot of times when a walleye feeds, as it opens its mouth, it sucks in that air. A lot of times as you're jigging up or this bait's falling, the fish might go to suck up that bait, and a lot of times it'll get just the stinger hook, something that'll look like this, where it comes up and it gets just the stinger hook. And a lot of times you'll notice the stinger's right there, right in the top of his mouth. That's how you know the stinger hook's doing the right job. Super simple presentation, easy to set up, but I think a lot of people overthink it, or they're not quite setting it up properly. Personally, this is the way to go. This technique and this style right here has put thousands of fish in the live well over the last few years. Guys, I hope this helped you out. If you have any other questions or you want to hear us talk about anything else, the comments are always open for suggestions. Our inbox is always open. Hook One Bait and Tackle on Facebook or at Hook One on Instagram. Please check it out. If you got time, smash that subscribe button down below. Tie one of these bad boys up, and let's have ourselves a great fall. Have a good one. Good luck.